Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures, Daily Dose of Nature. Today's topic, Floating Elegance, Exploring the Beauty of Jellyfish, presented by NatHab Expedition Leader Melissa Silva. I'm your host, Rob Mess. Thank you all so much for being here today. Over to you, Melissa.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. So, let's get. Okay, so, if you don't know me yet from these webinars, my name is Melissa Silva. I'm a marine biologist. And because of the career that I wanted to study, I had to move to the coast of Mexico, to the Pacific coast of Mexico. And this is actually a photo from Los Arcos area nearby Puerto Vallarta city. And since I started my high school there, I was in contact with the jellyfish. You know, everyone has an experience with them while swimming there or snorkeling. And since then, well, I get very interested in them. My major is not on jellyfish, though. It's on seahorses. I had a master degree on seahorses behavior. So, well, one thing led to another, but still jellyfish are very important for my career. And well, today I will share some knowledge I have about them. Some things are very new for me as well. So well, I hope you enjoy this. Let's start from the very beginning, actually, the beginning of life on Earth. And as you can see on this kind of like a ruler with all the eras on the Earth, the jellyfish appeared about between 500 or 700 million years ago. So those are some of the very first living beings on Earth. We do have some fossils of them, although they have this gelatinous body, but some of the fossils that can be found date from this time on the layers of the Earth, and they resemble to the extant jellyfish, the ones that we can see in our oceans today. So it's something very similar to this. And just for us to have an idea of how old or since when they exist, they have been here on Earth way before than the first dinosaurs and the first mammals, actually. And of course, let's not mention humans or the hominins that have been here just for 4 million years. That it's in the Earth's time of the life is just like the blink of an eye. So on this map, if you can see the yellow color is where we can find the jellyfish. So they are all around the world. They are in every ocean at every depth. And there are some that actually can be found in some estuarine waters, some more like fresh waters, a mix of fresh and salty waters. So to define a jellyfish, to tell what a jellyfish is quite tricky, because if we see these two definitions, they mention certain things that in terms of biology are not considered part of the what we imagine when we say jellyfish. So here I wanted to point out some things. In these two definitions, they mention the phylum Cnidaria. They mention the word nematocyst, or is a cell, is a characteristic of the Cnidaria. They mention some classes within this phylum, Scyphozoa, Cubozoa, and the Hydrozoa. But they also mention other things that are not considered biologically or taxonomically as jellyfish. Those are the ctenophores, those are known commonly as comb jellies, and the salps that actually are closer related to the humans. They are in the phylum Chordata, and they are way far from in terms of taxonomics. They are very far away from the jellyfish. So why we consider these two groups part of the jellyfish? Well, because they have these gelatinous bodies, because they are also part of the plankton that is floating in the sea currents. And well, just to make things easier, when we say jellyfish, sometimes we mention all of these organisms that are planktonic, even though they are bigger than a microscopic being. So what are the real jellyfish? Let's go into the phylum Cnidaria. In this phylum, we find like a variety of different organisms. We can find the corals and the anemones in here, and we find other type of jellyfish that they lost the medusa stage. So basically, these are the five classes that we can find within the phylum Cnidaria. The Scyphozoa class is the ones that we consider as scientists or as researchers as the true jellyfish. And actually, just so we don't take mistake with other things, we call them sea jellies or just jellies. So if you find news or if you find an article published and you see the word jellies or sea jellies, they are referring to this specific class of within the Cnidaria phylum. Then another group that we also consider as a jellyfish is the Cubozoa. Those are the box jellyfish. Those are very well known to be to have one of the deadliest species with the deadliest venom, and they are found once again all around the world. But Australia is notorious because of that, the presence of this. And then another group of cnidarians that are considered jellyfish but are not such are the hydrozoans, and specifically the medusa stages of some species. So I will describe a little bit of these three groups just for you to have an idea of what we are saying here. So first of all, I will start with the Scyphozoa and the Cubozoa classes. The sea jellies, this is, well, the general anatomical characteristics or morphological characteristics. The upper area, the thing that looks like a head is the bell. We call it a bell. And then it has a couple of different tentacles. One is like the true tentacle with the nematocyst. I will explain a little bit more in detail what they are. And the other ones are the oral arms. So those oral arms help them to feed, to take the food up into the mouth. So the internal anatomy is very simple. They actually don't have organs. They, just to make things a little bit clearer, the life is organized in tissues, organs, and systems. So the sea jellies have tissues, and they have an arrangement that helps them to survive without the next organization level, that is the organs. So they have very primitive tissues arranged in a manner that they will survive and they will be very efficient. So they have just like humans, they have an ectoderm, that is like the external area of the jellyfish, and they have an endoderm, that is all that the layer of cells that is inside the oral cavity or the guts. Between these two layers, they don't have anything. They have something called mesoglia, and it's actually from 95 to 98% water. So it's something very amazing. You will see how incredible these creatures are, because being almost pure water, 90% of your body being water, and they still are thriving from hundreds of millions of years now. Okay, so the Cubozoa jellyfish, as you can see, they are slightly different. They have the same a bell, but they don't have these oral tentacles. They just have the tentacles with the ones that they stung the prey and bring it into the mouth. Manubrium is the technical name for the mouth. So why the name of Cubozoa? Well, because if you cut them in a cross section, you can see they are basically a cube. They are square in general terms, most of the species of this group. So the same, they have some tissue arranged in a manner of gonads, the gastric filaments, and something very amazing that they all share is the ability of, despite being so simple, of being so well adapted to all the different depths, all the different latitudes where we can find them. Here, for example, well, the lion's mane jellyfish, you can see is a very well-known one, very, very big. And then on the other hand, we have, for example, the sea wasp that is a very well-known one for being one of the most venomous jellyfish. But you can see it's just about 2 inches long in terms of the bell of the body of the jellyfish. And then from there, this one, the helmet jellyfish, is one that we find on depths of about 1,000 meters in the ocean. And for example, the moon jellyfish, the Aurelia, is one of the most well-known jellyfish, and actually is the one that most of the scientists use for different experiments or different studies, because it's kind of like the typical medusa in the world. So, as I said, the phylum Cnidaria includes several different classes. We have the true jellies, we have the corals, we have the anemones. Well, we have also for example, the Portuguese manowar. All of these organisms have one thing in common, and that is the cnidocyte. The cnidocyte is the cell that contains the nematocyst, and the nematocyst is the stinger, is this tube or this harpoon that goes in the skin of their prey, or unfortunately sometimes in the skin of humans. So as you can see here, the nematocyst has a cnidocyl that is kind of like a barb that is sometimes activated either mechanically or by some chemoreceptors that are activated. And when more than 2 or 3 cnidocytes are activated, the nematocysts are ejected. So these are a couple of very cool videos that I was able to get from the James Cook University YouTube site. So here we can see on the image on the left, we can see how fast the nematocyst is ejected. So it's basically faster than the blink of an eye. They measure between 700 nanoseconds to like 14 milliseconds or something like this. It's something very, very fast. You can see the nematocyst right there, how fast they are displayed. And on the video on the right side of this slide, we can see how they measure that with a super fast camera. They were recording from the moment the nematocyst is activated until the moment the venom is ejected. So check their YouTube channel, because they have very, very cool information about these organisms, and well, some others from Australia. Okay, so despite they don't have organs or the tissue organized as organs, neither systems, they do have some level of organization with their tissues. Specifically here in this article, they were researching about the nerves, how this jellyfish, this is a very small jellyfish, kind of like 1 centimeter when it's fully grown. So they were able to mark their neurons and check how they were organized. So they actually have a net all around the bell, and how they were activated on this GIF on the left side of the slide. You can see how they are activated for when they need to move the bell, when they need to make the contractions to move around. So another very interesting thing is that how they contract this bell, how they contract the mesoglea to move around or to get the fish, for example, when they catch from with the tentacles, how they get the food within the mouth. So they discovered that they actually have some muscle cells that are very similar to the striated and the smooth muscles that the mammals have. So of course they are not arranged in real muscles as we have, for example, but they are organized in a way that they can move depending on what they need. So here, this diagram that you can see shows medusa stage on one of these cnidarias and shows the polyp stage of the cnidaria. So polyps, for example, such as anemones, you can see how they are arranged for their movement. And another very cool fact is that they have a structure named rhopalium or rhopalia, depending on if it's singular or plural, what you want to mention. So within this rhopalia, they have sensory organs, sensory structures, not organs. So they have some eyes, simple or compound eyes, complex eyes. They have statolids, and they also can have some chemoreceptors. So with this, they can perceive where they are or where they are going. But just keep in mind that they don't have a brain to process all this information. So there's a lot of information that we are still missing on how these organisms live. So the Rhopalia in the Schizophoa class is very simple. Basically, is just an area, very tiny area on the margin of the umbrella, and this Rhopalia is something very cool because on this diagram that we can see that these three images on the top of the slide, B, C, and D, it shows the Rhopalia of a moon jellyfish. So you can see how it is formed, like in a very simple way, but it still has the statolite that is basically it has the function that our internal ear has. It keeps the balance, it tells the balance, the position of the jellyfish in the water column. So as the inner ear for us help us with our balance while we are walking, the statolite helps the jellyfish to know where it is going when swimming in the ocean. And then this on the photography named as D, we can see the CO, that is the ocellum. This ocellum is basically a layer of light sensitive cells that acts basically as a simple eye. It's a very primitive eye that detects where is the light and where is the darkness, let's say. So they know if they are going up on the water column or if they are going down, or also to detect when is night, when is nighttime, so they can migrate in the water column, moving up and forward to hunt or to escape from predators. So on the Cubozoa class is something very amazing that I didn't expect to find. They actually have an eye that looks like ours. So as you can see, in the Rhopalia of this Cubozoa, they have six lenses. Two are a little bit more elaborate or complex than the others, having a retina actually. So as you can see on these two photographs marked as B and C, is a close-up on the ropalia of the box jellyfish. So the two more complex lenses eyes are these big ones that we can see here as basically as a true eye, as you can see, and then they have two other very simple eyes, or almost ocelli, but a little bit more developed. It's not a single layer of cells, but it's well, as the name says, it's a pit. It's like a folding in this tissue, and well, they detect as well the light. And some studies say that they might see some shadows, some shapes in the water column, and with this they can tell if the thing that is in front of them is a prey, a predator, or just an object over there. So actually, there were some experiments with this kind of eye, and they were saying that people with darker skin are less likely to be stung by the Cubozoa jellyfish than the people with lighter skin, because in the water, in the conditions that the jellyfish are, these box jellyfish are, let's say, seeing, the white skin is basically invisible underwater, while darker skins can be seen as something there. So they, something big, something very big. So this box jellyfish will move away from the darker spots, and they won't really see lighter areas, in this case, lighter tones in our skin. So that's something very, very amazing to know. And well, those are some specific characteristics of each one of these two classes of jellyfish. In general, all of the Cnidarian, but specifically the ones that have the medusa form in the life cycle, reproduce in this way. When they are adult free swimming jellyfish, they will release eggs and sperm in the water. The fertilization will occur there, and they will develop into this tiny, we can say it's like an embryo, to compare that with something we know, that is called planula. This planula floats in the water column. As it gets heavier, it goes down on the soil, at the bottom of the ocean, or in the, let's say coral reefs or rocky corals, rocky shores, and they will attach to the ground, and they evolve into they will develop into a polyp. This polyp later will develop into a budding polyp, and each one of those sections will become an immature jelly that eventually will swim away from the parent polyp, let's say. So each one of these polyps can produce between 10 to 15 different separate jellyfish, but each adult jellyfish can expel 4,000 eggs at once, and they can do that every week, every two days. It depends on the species, but well, they are very prolific, and I will mention why that's important to keep in mind in a moment. So what do jellyfish eat? Um, as I always say, in biology, it all depends on the species, but in general, they can eat anything. They can eat, they are carnivorous, let's say, in general terms. They can eat fish, some crustaceans, a lot of plankton. That's one of the most important part of their diets. And some of them can actually eat a little bit of the algae, the phytoplankton that is on the water column. So once again, as I said, it depends on the species, because it depends on how their tentacles are arranged, the food that they can catch. So it's It's not the same to have just some very long tentacles than having some short tentacles with very thick oral arms. So for example, a lion's mane jellyfish can feed on an Aurelia, a moon jellyfish. You can see they have long tentacles, they have some thick oral arms, so they can hunt, not hunt, catch and grab and keep the other jellyfish within these tentacles. In this case, for example, a Cubozoa jellyfish, they will hunt. I say hunt because they actually act as a predators. They can catch fish and other prey by actually actively chasing them and or placing their tentacles in a way that they will catch the animals that are passing by. But also we have other adaptations within this group of jellyfish, specifically within the Scyphozoa class. And for example, we have the upside down jellyfish that they don't actively swim catching food from the water column, but instead they just go, as the name says, upside down, and they move the water into the oral cavity, into the mouth, and they will be like that in rich nutritious waters for hours. They basically they will swim only when they feel there's not enough food, or when the conditions or there's a predator nearby. When the conditions are not good or there's a predator, they can swim very slow actually, because of these massive tentacles, oral arms that they have. And then we also have this other adaptation in the Papua Lake, that is the golden jellyfish. This jellyfish, this is something very interesting to look in internet if you want to get more information about that. But this one specifically has a symbiosis with a zooxanthella algae that is actually the same symbiosis that has the corals. So they have this algae within the body. Most of it is on the oral arms and on the margin of the bell, as you can see this on these colorful areas. So what they do is that they swim all the time on the surface of the lake, and the algae that is in the tissues, they will do the photosynthesis and they will feed the jellyfish. So it's an adaptation that they had, and well, it's one of the many ways of the jellyfish, how the jellyfish feed. Okay, so in general terms, just to close this, what are the main differences, or what are the differences between the jellyfish, the true jellies, and the box jellyfish? So, well, first of anything, they belong to different classes within the Cnidaria phylum. They have different shapes. Some is more like cubic, as I show, and the other one, the true jellyfish, they are more like a bowl shape bell, or like a cup bell. The box jellyfish, most of them have very deadly toxins. They can be deadly to humans, speaking on humans. And the true jellyfish, they don't have as deadly toxins, but it depends on how sensitive we are to this kind of toxins. Those are some proteins, some neurotoxins. So for example, if you are, let's say, if you are allergic to a bee stung, you can be more, it's more likely that you are very sensitive to a sea jelly sting, to any other, for example, the moon jelly, that personally I don't consider that to be very painful. But if you are very sensitive to other toxins, you can find that to be very, very painful. Another difference is that the Cubozoa jellyfish, they move basically very fast. here is difficult to give you a number in terms of this velocity, or how fast the speed they can get. So scientists, what they do is that they measure the body length per second, how many body lengths they can move per second. So the cubozoans move basically very fast, from 1 to 2.5 body lengths per second. So remember the length of this cubozoan, that is about 2 inches more or less. So they can move 2 inches per second. Picture that is the speed in your mind. The other ones, the Scyphozoa, is very difficult to give you an exact number or an exact average, because it depends on the species. The lion's mane, for example, they move basically very slowly because of the size, because of the oral arms and the number of tentacles they have. So basically they have a lot of weight to move, so they move very, very slow. If I remember correctly, I think they move like 0.5 body lengths per movement per second, let's say. And for example, the Noctiluca, another typical medusa shaped jellyfish, they don't have as many tentacles, they don't have as big oral arms as the lion's mane, so they move a little bit faster, 1 or 2 lengths per impulse. So well, in general terms, they are slower than the cubozoans. Box jellyfish actually hunt their prey, as I mentioned. They can see better than the others, and they can chase some of their prey. And on the other hand, the Scyphozoa, they are mostly opportunistic. That means that they will be in areas where the abundance of food is higher, so they don't have to make a bigger effort to get the food. And well, the cubozoan have more complex eyes, and the Scyphozoa have ocelli, or more like simple eyes. And something that I just find out from my experience and from making this webinar for you is that the cubozoa are actually mostly transparent. You barely see them, while the Scyphozoa are often more colorful in all the class, within the class. Okay, so now I mentioned the Scyphozoa and the cubozoa jellyfish. So now let me tell you about the hydrozoa organism that is sometimes mistaken by a jellyfish. And I'm speaking about the Portuguese manowar, the Physalia physalis. And this one is, it doesn't belong to the true jellyfish class, and is actually a colony of several organisms, or of several zooids. So it's not a single organism as the others, but a colony. So here, this diagram, this photo on the left side of the slide, shows like the general external anatomy of the manowar. And the crest and the pneumatophore, all this upper area here, is one single zooid, one single organism in the colony. So this organism grows up to this huge size and is filled with gas, with basically air. And the crest can be, it depends, since the moment they develop after being a planula. Well, no, this doesn't develop as a planula, but from the moment they develop as a colony, the pneumatophore moves the crest, or makes the crest to go sideways, either to the right or the left. And with this, they can spread into wider distances, because they move with the wind. As you can see, if you have been on the beaches when we have very strong winds, a lot of these siphonophores, they are washed in the shore. So they move. It depends if the crest is on the right or on the left side of the pneumatophore is where they will move and they will distribute in the ocean. So that's something that I think is very cool, because they don't move it on their own, but instead they are, let's say, born in a given direction, and that's how they go away. Then on this area below the surface, we can find all these. They look just like a mass of tentacles, but they are actually different specialized zooids. So what we have gastrozoids in the upper area, and we also have gonozoids. So they are single organisms that are that develop to be either just the feeding polyp or just the reproductive structure of this colony. Then we also have the dactylozoids and the tentacular zoids or paplons, and those are they can either develop a sticky substance to catch the prey, or they can develop the nematocyst in their bodies. So it's actually a very complex group of organisms, group of zoids, and well, I consider them to be one of the most beautiful to see, but just stay away from them when you see them. So of course they will have predators, even though they are 90%, 95% water, they have some predators. One of the main predators of jellyfish are sea turtles. So here I found this video from the Canadian Sea Turtle Network, and we can see they call it turtle camp, and we can see a sea turtle checking the water, and then it sees the jellyfish right there and is munching on it. You can see how delicious it looks. So they can, for example, leatherback sea turtles feed on them almost exclusively, and they actually have some adaptations in the mouth and the throat for this specific purpose. Another animal that feeds on the of the jellyfish is the group named nudibranchs. This one specifically is the blue sea dragon. It's Glaucus atlanticus, and actually what we are seeing here is the belly of that sea slug, and you can see how it's moving the mouth and how it's giving some bites to this colony, to this Portuguese man of war. And an adaptation that the sea dragon has is they can storage the nematocysts in order to use them as a protection. And also another predator for sea jellies, or for jellyfish in general, are the snails. So here you can see there's a barrel jellyfish that washed up on the sand, and all of these snails are eating it, are biting pieces of it. So you can see they are a very important part of the food chain or food net in the ocean. So despite they are so marvelous and so important, and I consider them to be very, very, very beautiful, I think they do make some bets on how close they can get to the human. So from these interactions, we can have these very bad stongs. And I want to share with you some recommendations. You can find those in the all around the internet. But well, I've been there, so I have been stung by jellyfish, by the Portuguese man of war, by the Aurelias, by the Noctilucas, and I can tell you from my experience what I consider to be some of the most important steps to take once you are stung by the jellyfish. First of anything, of course, get out of the ocean, get out of the water, and try to clean the wound with hot water, but not like coffee hot or tea hot water, just like warmer than usual. What I used to do when going to the ocean, when going to the beach, is to get a water bottle. It can be an aluminum water bottle or a plastic water bottle in the sun, direct sun rays, and with that hot water, that temperature was enough to calm down a little bit the stinging, to deactivate the nematocysts. Another very important thing is to remove the tentacles that might be attached. I don't know if you've heard that you can use a card or something that is ¿cómo se llama? Hard and plain, to remove that, passing that through the skin. I strongly don't recommend that at all, because if you don't really know the technique or you are not careful, you can spread the whole tentacle around, or spread all the nematocysts around the skin, and you will cause the worse sting. So if you have well, we don't usually take ¿cómo se llaman estas? Fingers? No, well, to remove the I forgot the name. Well, Rob, you will help me in a moment. But if you don't have one of these scissors, I think is the name of that, to remove the tentacles carefully, use a pen or use a stick, or use even a towel, just to carefully remove it, but don't get stung. And then the one that I consider the most important, even if you don't do the two other steps, the previous steps, even if you just pour vinegar on the tentacles and on the wound, that will relieve the pain, and it will help you to calm down, because the toxins that jellyfish have are alkaline, so they react with the vinegar, and they basically denaturalize with the acidic of the vinegar. I don't recommend to pee on a jellyfish sting, because it's not hygienic and it's not as acidic as the vinegar, so it won't help as much as this other option. So well, those are my recommendations in my experience. And something that I wanted to mention is that we are seeing blooms. A group of jellyfish in natural conditions is called a swarm, but a group of jellyfish that is not natural is considered a bloom. So these bloomings occur more often every time because the several different is the factors that are helping them to thrive. One of the factors is the overfishing. So we are removing predators for the jellyfish from the ocean. The other, and we are giving more food while removing these predators. We are also giving more food, or moving the competitors away for the jellyfish. And the increase on the ocean temperature and the increase of the acidity as well in the ocean makes them to be a little bit happier and be in more comfortable conditions. Okay, so as I pointed out down here, jellyfish are not the problem, but they are an indicator that something is out of balance in the oceans. So just to keep that in mind, don't blame jellyfish. Here is a diagram of what I was saying. Jellyfish are feeding on the plankton that can feed on the, for example, the nutrient-rich waters that come from the deltas of rivers, from the agriculture. So all the plankton feeds on those nutrients, nitrogen or phosphatums, and then all of these species feed on the plankton. But then if we have an overfishing, the medusa will have more food, so they will reproduce faster. Remember, they can expel up to 4,000 eggs. And once they reproduce that fast, they will eat more, of course, and they will compete with the other predators, and hence they will reduce the biomass of other animals, such as here we can find the examples, right? The marine birds, marine mammals, and well, of course, some sea turtles as well. But not everything is bad news with jellyfish. There are some studies going on now that the bycatch of jellyfish in the industrial fisheries worldwide, they can be something good, because we can have some products that we use in biomedical or cosmeceuticals, nutraceuticals products, as protein, such as proteins. The green fluorescent protein, that is actually one used in medicine to mark either cells or even tissues, for example, for cancer studies. And well, many other studies that are now running on this resource that we can take advantage of. So basically, that's it. Thank you. And Rob, any question?
All right, thank you so much. Now, before we start off with the question and answer session, I would like to remind everyone that you can submit your questions via the question field in your control panel. So, how long do jellyfish live?
It depends on the species. I like to say that because it's true. It depends on the species and where they live. For example, a species kept in captivity in an aquarium, they can live for years because they have the perfect conditions. They have food, they don't have really like predators, and they can live 2 to 5 years. Species that live, for example, in open waters, they can live months, 6 months, 8 months. If they are very small, they can live just 1 or 2 months as a medusa stage. Or the ones that live like these ones we are watching on the video, that live in depths, in very deep waters, they can live for days only if they are very small, or for months if they are very big. So it depends. It varies from, let's say, from 1 week to 9 months in general terms in natural conditions.
So would you say that the box jellyfish is more evolved than the sea jellies?
I wouldn't say more evolved. That's something very interesting, because they evolve different according to their needs, but I would say it's more complex in terms of how the tissue is arranged in this rhopalium, specifically speaking about these sensory structures. So we can say that Cubozoa jellyfish, the box jellyfish, are more complex than the sea jellies, than true jellyfish.
Gotcha, thank you. So would you say, excuse me, are the man of wars more dangerous to humans than the box jellies are?
They are, from my experience, I've never been stung by a box jellyfish, thank goodness. But the venom or the toxin that they have is different. So the problem with the box jellyfish is that they attack the cardiac muscle and the nervous system, so they can actually take you to a cardiorespiratory arrest or something like that. So that's why they are deadlier, or more deadly, or the deadliest for humans. And the Portuguese man of war, they will, let's say, they will attack only the tissue where you have the tentacle. Once again, if you are very sensitive to the toxin, you might have other symptoms, like, I don't know, an anaphylactic reaction, that I've seen people being stung by a jellyfish and got lips swallow, and some other reactions. But yeah, they have different toxins. They attack different systems in humans. So that's why box jellyfish are deadly for humans, while the Portuguese man o' war are not deadly.
Got it. Thank you for addressing that. So do all true jellies and box jellies have stingers? Do they all sting?
Yes, they all. Remember, they belong to the phylum Cnidaria. So box jellyfish, true jellyfish, the Portuguese man of war, the hydras, the little tiny hydras that you can Google that hydra, HYDRA. And those are freshwater cnidarians, and they do have stingers, so, but they are minuscule, so they don't sting humans. And the coral, remember we have fire corals and the anemones as well. They all have stingers, and they all can. It depends on the size, but they can all sting humans.
Just to clarify, do jellyfish lay eggs like fish?
Mm-hmm. Yep, they have eggs, just like the tiny fish eggs, and they have sperms, just like any other sperm. It's the the spermatozoid is way smaller as well, and the egg is, well, not microscopic, but also bigger, as in general terms within the animals. The eggs are bigger than the sperms. So yeah, they do have eggs.
Great. Thanks for addressing that. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
that's going to be the last question that we do have time for today. So I'm going to throw it back to you
Okay,
for some
thank you.
closing comments.
Thank you. Well, yeah, it was a pleasure for me to share all this with you. I hope you go and do your research on your own, so you learn more about this. And well, just keep watching our daily dose of nature webinars that are super interesting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to present for us today. And I'd also like to thank everyone who tuned in today. If you're interested in information on how you can travel with NatHab, give us a call at the number on your screen, or you can send us an email at info@nathab.com. Our adventure specialists are happy to help you out. Join us tomorrow for our next Daily Dose of Nature. You can check out this week's lineup, including our registration links, on our website at nathab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude the webinar. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time.